Hi, neighbors. Welcome to the Senior Scene. For today's segment of The Scene, we take you to the Torrance Airport's Zamperini Field, where the Western Museum of Flight is holding its grand opening. In a sequel to a recent open house, the Western Museum of Flight celebrated its grand opening with visitors able to view an extensive collection of aviation artifacts, along with an up-close look at a myriad of vintage aircraft on the tarmac and in flight at Zamperini Field. After losing its lease at Hawthorne Field, the museum's relocation to Torrance can be attributed to Torrance Councilman Paul Nowatka, an aviation buff and museum member.
The Western Museum of Flight is a nonprofit organization chartered as an educational foundation. Its mission is to preserve the heritage of the aerospace industry in Southern California and to teach people about its pioneers. This day today is just a beautiful, gorgeous day. The sun has come out now. We have over 40 warbird airplanes here, the most beautiful DC-3 you'll ever see. This is an F-5 behind me in the picture. We also have a Saberjet P-51 Mustangs and many, many, many important airplanes. We're also very pleased to have Louis Zamperini joining us here today. The field is named after him.
At precisely 12 noon, Torrance City Councilman Gene Barnett opened the day's celebration with the following remarks.
And it's my distinct pleasure and an honor to welcome you here to the grand opening of this fabulous facility, the Western Museum of Flight.
Mr. Barnett then called upon Museum Director Cindy Maka.
Although our Board of Trustees and our dedicated volunteers have given their time and talent to create this educational and cultural institution that is the Western Museum of Flight, none of our work could go forward without the rock-solid support of the City Council, the Mayor, our generous donors, the community, and our dedicated volunteers. I look forward to sharing our future with all of you. Thank you.
Bill Sutherland, Torrance Mayor Pro Tem, followed Cindy with these comments.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm sure many others are excited also. With the museums locating to Torrance, West Museum of Flight is providing our community with the exciting, enriching, and historic perspective of flying back in time with those warbirds and famous airplanes. It's rare for us to get a chance to capture history, to feed our curiosity on which it must have been like in the past. Now, we have a wonderful opportunity to capture a piece of aviation history. We now have an opportunity to rediscover what has influenced our present, and I hope that we can remember those lessons to continue to help us shape our future. Again, on behalf of Mayor Frank Scotto, the Torrance City Council, and the entire city of Torrance, we are very proud and very happy that the Western Museum of Flight has chosen Torrance as its new home. Thank you.
Thank you. Torrance rocks.
After being introduced by Mr. Barnett, California State Assemblyman Ted Lieu added these words along with a certificate from the State Assembly.
You know, I love airplanes. It's one of the reasons I joined the Air Force, and little did I know I'd be stationed at Los Angeles Air Force Base where there are no airplanes. So now I can just come here and look at all these aircraft, and maybe I'll ask if I get my reserve duty assigned here. But even though the airplane was invented in Ohio, it was in Southern California where it really took off. From the air shows here to Hughes Aircraft to all the aircraft manufacturers, it was Southern California that put the airplane on the map and made it global. And even today, we have Northrop Grumman in the South Bay, we've got Boeing, We have lots of component manufacturers, and so the South Bay really can take a lot of credit for making the aircraft what it is today. And I can think of no better fitting place than Torrance to house this terrific Western Museum of Flight. Thank you.
A representative from the office of California State Senator Jenny Oropeza, along with a representative from the office of County Supervisor Don Knobby. One of the highlights of the ceremony was the introduction of Torrance's own Captain Louis Zamperini, a former World War II bombardier on a B-24 bomber, along with the World War II P-51 Mustang pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Bob Goebel, who is credited with 11 kills, making him a flying ace. This ceremony was culminated with a ribbon-cutting ceremony performed by Torrance Mayor Pro Tem Bill Sutherland and Museum Director Cindy Macha. On completion of the ribbon cutting, it was time to meet some of the pilots, along with viewing the vintage aircraft on display.
I'm 86 years old.
And I understand you are a World War II pilot.
Yes, I was a World War II pilot. I flew with the Mighty 8th Air Force. I was a co-pilot on a B-17 flying out of England.
How many missions?
Our crew flew 32 missions in just 77 days, and we had no injuries.
I understand that you still do some flying at age 86.
Yes, I belong to the Commemorative Air Force, and they own a lot of airplanes, and once in a while the qualified licensed pilot will let me fly also.
That's tremendous. I understand you also know Lou Zamperini. We're very proud of him here in Torrance.
Yes, I've met Louis when I come out here almost every time, and many people think that I'm Louis, and I correct them right away. I want them to realize that I'm not the famous Louis Zamperini.
Roy completed the interview by happily displaying a photo of himself and good friend and look-alike Captain Lou Zamperini. Merely by chance, I spotted Captain Zamperini in the cockpit of this C-53 Sky Trooper.
We always wanted to have a museum here, and there was just no way to put one together. We didn't have any museum paraphernalia, and every year I went to the Hawthorne Air Fair and saw the great museum there, and then when the situation took place where they had to move, I was hoping and praying they'd move to Torrance, and here they are. So now we have a museum, and I want to be part of their function, and I donated some old aviation books today, and I hope to find more stuff for the museum. In the meantime, what I do now, I speak to mostly troops. I go to Heidelberg, Germany every year. I speak to 80,000 troops and their kids and the families, and then I have a steady speaking engagement with the Marines at 29 Palms. So I go there every graduating class, and trouble is with the military, they want you to speak 2.5 hours.
The C-53 Sky Trooper is a light cargo craft that was used to tow gliders and drop paratroopers.
It's a true Douglas C-53 Sky Trooper. It was developed from the famous DC-3 primarily to carry paratroopers and tow gliders. It was developed primarily for the D-Day invasion of Europe. The airplane came off the Douglas Santa Monica assembly line on July 6, 1943, trained with the 101st Airborne, then went over to England and flew 3 sorties over Normandy on D-Day. The markings on the airplane are the same markings as the #1 airplane that dropped the troopers into St. Mary-Glace on June 6th. Following the D-Day droppings, it participated in 3 other missions over Europe: Operation Market Garden, the drop over Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge, and the drop over the Rhine. Following the last drop over the Rhine, it was converted to carry the wounded out and made into an ambulance airplane. Following VE Day, for some strange reason, it was given to the Marines. They took it out to the Pacific and got it shot up a little bit. When it came back into the United States, it was repaired at a Navy base, even though it's an Army airplane. So some of the data plates on it are R4D, which is Navy designation.
Is it still serviceable? Is it being flown?
It has been restored to flying condition and to look exactly like it looked on D-Day. The airplane is currently in the air show circuit. It's owned by the Commemorative Air Force in Midland, Texas, assigned to the Inland Empire Wing in Riverside Municipal Airport, California.
Just adjacent to the C-53 was a DC-3, whose counterpart was in the D-Day operation and was also deployed in the Korean and Vietnam conflicts. In addition to numerous prop-driven trainers that included the T-6 Texan, an advanced trainer with a speed of 208 miles per hour and a range of 730 miles. The T-34 Mentor that was used in training naval pilots, the T-28 Trojan, a fixed-wing, piston-engined military trainer, and the PT-13 Starman Navy trainer with a speed of 124 miles per hour. There were 3 L-29 military jet trainers flown in for the occasion. Note the shrill noise as the jets taxied to their position on the flight line. One of the more glamorous jet planes that is now a permanent fixture here at Zamperini Field is the newly arrived F-5A Freedom Fighter. This lightweight supersonic fighter aircraft was designed and built by Northrop Aircraft. It entered service in the 1960s and was used primarily as a trainer. It was towed to Zamperini Field in the dead of night, courtesy of Van Lingen B&H Towing Company. The fighter was escorted by Torrance police from El Segundo's Northrop Grumman facilities through the cities of Hawthorne and Lawndale to its Torrance destination. I understand you've donated your services to the museum.
Yes, in fact, we did. My sons and myself, and we all came out here early this morning to get this done.
Good morning, Art.
Quite an event here.
Yeah, I had to get up really early this morning for this baptismal tow with Van Lingen for our F-5 Freedom Fighter.
Isn't it great them donating all of this?
It is fantastic. He also fixed our golf cart for us.
Tell me a little bit about the upcoming Blue Ribbon ceremony.
Well, our grand opening will be held this Sunday, November 11th, from 11 to 3 right here at Torrance Airport. And we have about 40 aircraft coming, vintage warbirds, and some notable veterans from World War II, authors, and historians. 2
additional permanent residents of the museum are the F-86 Saberjet, the main fighter during the Korean War with a speed of 685 miles per hour and a range of 1,200 miles. The P-51 Mustang is a long-range fighter and was used as a bomber escort in raids over Germany. It has a speed of 440 miles per hour and a range of 1,000 miles. What is thought of the Mustang? Let's listen.
This airplane was actually built in 1944 at what was Mines Fields, and it's now LAX. And this is the fighter really that made it possible for the bombers to make it all the way to the targets in Berlin nonstop, because they had the range to do it. The previous fighters would get to the target, but then by the time they got there, they were out of gas. So when this came along, because it has a 2-stage blower, it was able to go to real high altitude, like 40,000 feet. and have the long range. Thus, many say this is the airplane that won the war. I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly, the current owner will tell you that he's pretty sure that because of this, the P-51 and the P-38, that he's probably still alive today. He was a B-17 lead navigator, a